now they hear me out. Crazy was the talk that they say.
What is going on, guys? It's Adam and Marf. Today's show is going to be absolutely loaded, so stick around. We're going to have, of course, Lisa, our military analyst, talk about today's alert and many more things that have just come to our attention. We have a show of a lifetime tonight. Be right back right after this.
Now that it come true, now they hear me out.
All right, nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of myself, Dex, or anyone else on the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. All right, what is going on, guys? My name is Adam A.K. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. We have a ton of stuff to go over in a short amount of time, so I just want to remind anybody who is new here that we actually back up every single article, tweet, video that is on here on our website, marfooglenews.com. You can actually go over here, and you will see that it is all organized by thumbnail. Now, when you see this thumbnail, let me fix that real quick. You will actually find that it is right there on the front page to the top left, depending on the time that you actually find this. And once you click that, you'll see all of the links to every single article on this show here today. Again, it's right here. Everything happening right now, August 11th update. We're going to be talking about the WEA emergency alert that went over all towers. Again, there is debate about that in the comment section. I'm going to show you what I think that was. And again, some very, very funny things said about this. So, Sherry Phillips, thank you for subscribing. Thank you, all the new people. We gained about 5,000 people over on the main channel. I appreciate that. If you have not seen the video on that, it has hit over 300,000 views in 24 hours. So make sure to go check that out. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex. How are you doing today, and what is going on?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So we have a caller tonight. Again, you are free to call her. We'll have regular callers, but we have a very special caller planned at the end. Lisa Marie had a very similar position to Edward Snowden. She was dealing with cryptology and, of course, Russian, basically looking at the Russian language and working for information and intelligence. So she is a very knowledgeable person. Every time she has ever called in has been amazing. This time we asked her on because of today's alert. I think that even I will be corrected today. In fact, some of the stuff that I said just 2 days ago or yesterday will be corrected by her. So there's some really, really explosive stuff there. Let's get right into the news. Of course, we have a lot of it. The WHO red alert: man dies of highly contagious new virus identified and carriers isolated. So this is 1 in 4, I believe, one of 4 men, or that might even be a different one. There's so many right now. It says the WHO has warned today of an outbreak of a highly contagious, looks like a highly contagious Marburg virus. Announced today that the WHO has revealed 1 man died of the highly virulent virus on August 6th. It says that the case was the first ever reported in Guinea and West Africa. The Marburg virus has a high fatality. I don't know why I'm having problems today. And as of yet, there is no drug approved to combat it. Such is the concern over the transmission of the virus in Guinea. The WHO and other organizations such as the Red Cross have initiated measures to control the outbreak. So yet again, another creepy, crazy outbreak of something. And one thing that I do want to say, most people will overlook that and say, they see that once a month, there's this crazy thing that outbreaks. I want to go back in time before this event that we're all dealing with for 2 years and actually realize that some of the same medicines used to combat this were actually used to combat Ebola. So very crazy stuff there. If you know the connections there, again, you'll probably understand exactly what I'm saying. And then, of course, this goes into more detail. It says Marburg virus panic as 155 could be infected with illness that makes you bleed to death. Not a very fun one. It says the disease that can cause victims to bleed to death has appeared in Guinea in West Africa for the first time, prompting concerns that the incident could escalate. Experts believe the Ebola-like illness, which can be up to 88% fatal, and for which there is no treatment of a cure, could spread, quote, far and wide. Health authorities in the country are now monitoring 155 people who may have been in contact with the confirmed case. The World Organization, of course, said. It says the patient died in Gegekadao in southeastern Guinea, also the location of 2014 through 16 West Africa Ebola outbreak, which we also covered, of course, at the very beginning of my channel. We also had some stuff come over to the U.S. as far as Ebola goes. If they're saying that this is like it, of course, this is going to be pushed in the news and pushed to the top, even though that it most likely will be contained. That is my theory on this. Just because I've covered a lot of things that have outbreak or that have been an outbreak, and it seems to me like nothing much happens to it, but they do make some pretty scary headlines. It says the contacts have been traced. The 155 people are under observation for 3 weeks. It is active surveillance. The contacts are kept at home, isolated from other members of the family. Wonder if something was questionable, or if they said, what if they said to you, hey, you were on the same plane as somebody. We can't give you that somebody's name because of, medical reasons and privacy reasons, but you were on the plane as somebody and we need to isolate you for 3 weeks. Guess what? You would have no option. You would basically have to do it, and there would be absolutely no option for you other than to isolate. Kate Paul, thank you for popping in early over on YouTube. Says, testing, good evening. I just noticed Apple Pay keeps double charging for super chats. Anyone else notice that? No, I have not. Again, I've never heard of that before, and we've been doing this for 4 years. Gone Girl 777, thank you so much. Says, love you all. Can't stay. Foogle fam strong. Miss B, thank you so much for supporting early on. And then Jared F, 3 minutes ago. Thank you. Massive support. Gone Girl and Jared F, thank you for supporting independent media. Of course, we don't have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We don't have a multi-channel network even. Again, we are completely on our own, so thank you. Zippy Moons popping over to YouTube. Sherry Phillips, thank you for subscribing. And Ulrich Emeritus Artis, thank you for being the last one out last time. And then, of course, we have the West Nile virus identified in mosquitoes in St. Joseph County. This was something that we've talked about over the last 2 years as far as the West Nile. It says a pool of mosquitoes in northern Orsacola, and if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize, have tested positive for the West Nile virus, according to the St. Joseph County Health Department. St. Joseph is one of 4 counties in Indiana to have mosquitoes with West Nile virus. There have been no human cases so far this year. The health department has the following tips for protecting your family from mosquitoes. Of course, we will attach this on our website. Again, the mosquitoes and everything, I just hate mosquitoes in general because they love me, but I would highly be, I would at least put on bug spray and things like that to avoid any kind of contact with this. Now, Dex, if you have anything on this that you wanted to add, you can chime in. I know that you're going to be running the phones. Again, the number is 224-400-MARF if you would like to call in. That number is scrolling very slowly right here. You can pop in at any time and call. Again, internationally, you'll have to Google how to call in. I would love to hear from anybody from Europe or Australia. One thing I would like to know is, have you had an alert or an emergency alert in your countries as well? It's one thing to have something in the United States. I know that we have a lot of viewers from outside of the country. Do you have something similar that is running at the very same time? A lot of the times it was. During the presidential alert in 2018, they actually had multiple countries doing the same thing with a different system. So essentially, globally almost, there was a huge signal that went out to everybody. And then, let's see here. 4th person in U.S. mysteriously stricken with deadly bacteria from South Asia. Again, this is actually what I was thinking about before. So it says that a 4th person in a 4th U.S. state has mysteriously contracted a deadly South Asian bacterium without leaving the continental U.S. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported on Monday. 2 of the 4 cases have been fatal, including the latest one identified in Georgia late last month during a post-mortem exam. The cat investigators determined that all 4 cases are connected, and they suspect a so far unknown imported product that may be to blame. The cat had released an advisory on June 30th about the 3 earlier cases. The first case was identified as an adult in Kansas in March, which was also fatal. In May, investigators identified a case in a 4-year-old Texas girl and, of course, another case in an adult in Minnesota. Both of those patients were hospitalized for extended periods of time before being released to transitional care facilities. The young girl in Texas reportedly suffered brain damage from the infection, so really bad. How will this play a part into anything else? I don't know. It seems to me like there are a lot of these. Anybody that knows anybody that has ever worked with these agencies knows that there's a whole lot more than what the public knows about. And most of the time, they are putting out fires all over the place that we don't even know about. That's why when something real happens, when it doesn't look right, everybody's like, this just doesn't make too much sense. They do have a lot of practice with a lot of real stuff that happens all over the world. That's why when they come into contact with a new one, they usually store it in either Georgia or in Russia in those 2, world approved sites. So pretty crazy stuff has been popping out, especially since that explosion last year. Zippy Moons, thank you for your support again. Jillian Gems, thank you again for supporting. Human Tiger, did you notice mass bang bangers disappeared when CV began? I did notice, actually. I've noticed that basically nothing has happened unless there's something that goes along with that. The mass bang 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 bangs have essentially just disappeared. It's like people stopped going crazy. That's a very strange thing to notice, Human Tiger. Sandy Stamps says, did the U.S. go to DEF CON 2 today due to tension between Iz and I ran to the store? If you're actually quoting the DEF CON system on Twitter, that is a privately run thing. I don't know if they put it to there, but as far as I know that the U.S. of A has a different system that's not even public still. Back in the day, in September of 2001, they had a color code system. They actually, I think they got rid of that, I'm pretty sure. But now there is even a top secret system that they use as far as codes, and I don't think the public will actually know when we do go into some stuff. We do get chatter down from military families that, they're on high alert for certain things, but I don't know. Ilea, Adam, if you ever need another mod for YouTube, I would definitely not volunteer for that role because I would absolutely, without a doubt, abuse that power. Joking, much love, Foogle fam. Ilea, I know, and you would force them to listen to your dad jokes. And then David Blackwell, thank you, and salute, thank you for supporting. And then Sir Budrick, Marburg, Ebola, Spanish and West Nile MERS, etc. equals okay to say, but saying Wuhan equals racist. Things that make you go, Yeah, so all of those are actual places. The West Nile virus, it's called that. Why? Because it's from that place. Yeah, I know. Yeah, good observation. Before we go, again, you can call in at 224400 It looks like we have Rock and Roll Mama on the phone. It says, boyfriend saw a Black Hawk over the neighborhood, saw it drop a duffel bag and other stuff. Whoa, okay. Dex, let's get Rock and Roll Mama on, and then we will move on to, of course, Bezos, Bloomberg, and Gates mining in Greenland.
Hello?
Hi, Rock and Roll Mama. What's going on? You're live on Marfoogle News.
Hi, how's it going, Marf?
I'm doing great. So what's happening? This sounds crazy. So what happened?
I know. As soon as I heard it, I was like, ooh, I wonder if I could call in tonight and tell Marf.
Well, I'd love to hear it. So what happened?
So, basically, I live outside of Cincinnati, and my boyfriend he works over in an area called Indian Hill, kind of a really wealthy area in Cincinnati. And he was just kind of out in the field working, and he saw or heard this gigantic Black Hawk fly over, and eventually he saw it, and kind of going fast, but like super low to the ground. And then maybe about an hour or two later, he was talking with one of his coworkers, and they said, "Hey, did you see that Black Hawk earlier?" And my boyfriend was like, "Yeah, I saw that. That was kind of wild." And his coworker was like, "Yeah, we saw it fly over this little lake that they're actually filling in with like construction waste and garbage." He said it flew over and dropped off a duffel bag over top this like, dumping area, and then there was like some other things falling down with it, and then it just like flew off.
So, and to describe, did he describe what was under it again? I'm sorry, what was the area that they dropped it on top of?
Yeah, so I think I'm not familiar with the area, but he said it's basically kind of like a lake. It's just been traditionally a lake for a long time, but they're starting to fill it in with, I guess, like construction material, just things left over from construction sites. And so it's becoming like a landfill. So probably just like a little space that's probably not used often, but, they're just dumping a bunch of stuff there.
Well, I mean, that could be an exercise as far as in real wartime, they actually drop all sorts of stuff out of the side. In fact, in Blackhawks, you can sit out the side of the helicopter and they can try to drop in stuff or pick people up and pull them up. Just to go over to the chat, what do you guys think they were doing? Do you think they were trying to dropping off a bag of weapons or something? Like, that's pretty crazy. I believe you,
I don't know. I mean, who knows? He's seen some other things over that same area. So I think this was last summer. They saw what looked like kind of like a cross in the sky, but it wasn't like super high up. And he said that it was kind of like folding over its each end, like over itself, but in kind of a weird way. Like it was almost like it was hovering, but then just kind of this like cross-shaped craft was just like flipping over itself. And it's I don't know, it's an interesting area because I guess a lot of, again, it's like a very well-to-do area, so a lot of just important people live in that area, so it's just kind of interesting. He's seen some stuff over there.
Well, another thing, so I put a video out a few weeks ago. I was lucky enough, my wife and I were downtown filming, and all of a sudden, this Black Hawk comes flying through the two apartment buildings. We posted the video of not one, not two, not three, but 4 times. It came and it landed on a rooftop, and then it swooped through buildings, and then it looped around, and it did the same loop 4 times. And then we had somebody, one of the Foogle fam members on Twitter, ended up finding the actual radar information on it, and they found the call sign, the exact time, what it was doing, and it didn't only do a loop in downtown Seattle, but it then went to Tacoma, which is another bigger city down south, and then it did the same thing, only actually it looked like it did it in 5 different places, the same loop. So what they were doing is, and they were going to one of these buildings with DOD, dropping down onto their roof, and then taking off. So I wonder if they're also... Oh my God. I don't know. I wonder if they're going to treat richer neighborhoods in a disaster different than poor neighborhoods.
I don't know. I do have one more really cool story that I wanted to tell you about. And you actually covered this event, and it was the weird flashes over the sky in Bethel, Ohio. I don't know if you remember that, but it was like these big pink flashes that this guy caught on his Ring doorbell.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Do you remember that?
So did you get to witness that?
So that was like right by our house. So my boyfriend and I were outside having like a little like campfire, fire pit. And I saw, right before these flashes, I saw a glowing sphere flying away from the direction where the flashes ended up happening. And I just watched it fly across the sky. And then those flashes happened, and we saw it, and I was like, holy crap, that's like weird, you know? And my boyfriend was like, that's really weird. And then at the end of the flashes, we heard what sounded like the crackling of electricity. And my boyfriend's brother called us and was like, hey, our power went out, because he lives like right below or around where the flashes happened. So it did knock out some people's power. And it definitely happened after I saw this like glowing sphere flying away. So I just wanted to share that as well, because it was kind of crazy.
No, I've never seen something that cool. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Rock and Roll Mama. And again, if anybody,
You're welcome.
Anybody was
Thanks
in
for
that,
having me.
anyone was in that area, you said it was Indian Hill in Ohio. Is that right?
Yep. So in Cincinnati, it's just like a really nice, super nice neighborhood in Cincinnati.
So if anybody else got video of it, and you never know, anytime somebody calls in about something, somebody else will go, I actually got that on my Ring camera, or I got a cell phone video of that, I can send it in. Please do send it to us. All right, well, Rock and Roll Mama, thank you so much for calling in. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. All right, let's go back to the news. If you saw that, send it to adam@marfooglenews.com or dex@marfooglenews.com. In fact, the best way is to CC it to both of us. And then, okay, it's almost like they're trying to make conspiracies. I could not think of something bigger than this. Bezos, Bloomberg, and Gates all digging in Greenland. After of course, the movie Greenland came out, I'm sure that's like the first place that a lot of our heads went. Again, I'm a little, I'm a little bit towards that. So again, that's the first thing I thought. I was like, are you serious? It says billionaires Bezos, Bloomberg, Gates, and Dalio partner on Greenland EV mining JV. It says President T-Man was ridiculed for reportedly expressing interest in buying Greenland. Remember that as well was part of that. And it says Greenland is a strategic place. They've got a lot of valuable minerals, he explained in August 2019. And he was right. Danish surveys have found that the owner of the island would stake a claim to around 9,000 square kilometers of the continental shelf in the Arctic Ocean. As we noted at the time, there was also, not surprisingly, a race for supremacy with China over the island's future. So far, Washington has prevented Beijing from financing 3 airports on Greenland, and that would give a toehold on the strategical important island. It says, which also is the world's largest by square mileage, something the U.S. military refuses to risk. And though it has a vast natural resource across its 811,000 square miles, Greenland relies on $591 million of subsidies from Denmark annually, which makes up about 60% of its annual budget. Greenland quickly rebuffed T-Man, saying, "We're not for sale." This is actually, I believe this town has been on documentaries. The people that live here, it's extremely cold. What's funny is Greenland's covered in ice and Iceland's covered in green. It says, but now it appears Greenland is more open to the idea as a group of American billionaires have teamed up to form a joint venture to mine the nation's $1 trillion resources for rare natural resources required for electric vehicle battery production. So, Dex, what do you think about this whole Greenland thing? As far as we just talked about Greenland and New Zealand and all these different places that the elites are going. Now you have 3 of the richest and basically the people that have the most conspiracies about them all teaming up.
Oh yeah, I think the notion of follow the money, and in this case you want to follow the whatever you want to call these guys. If they're up to something, you definitely want to be looking at what they're doing and why they're doing it, and ask lots of questions, because this is rife with possibilities, and I'm pretty intrigued as to what they may or may not really be doing here.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. I do want to stop right now. We just had 2 absolutely crazy things happen on DLive. Again, if you have not joined us on DLive yet, you should. Texas Rob 49 just did a ninjet, one of the highest compliments you can bestow on somebody on DLive. Says, thank you, Marf, Dex, Mods, for work well done. Thanks to Jammer1 and the chat for checking on me. I am okay. The CV is keeping me busy. Much love. And then, of course, Texas Rob, who, again, I am praying for you as well. Scooby-Doo Do Right says, Lily Boo is a Marfoogle fur baby. Ack, ack, ack. Scooby-Doo, I appreciate you and thank you for your support. Thank you guys for supporting Independent. You guys are, I don't believe Scooby-Doo, I don't know if you've done that before, so thank you. That's huge. You actually, anybody that does a Ninjet is going on a list. We were waiting to get to a certain number before we made this thing. We started an art project on it, so thank you. You guys are going to be a part of that. And then Carolina Roots, and of course J-Dubs, Dixie Doe, Angela1609, everybody that is supporting. Brendan Henschel says, thanks for your hard work, Adam and Dex, Foogle fam. Thank you, Brendan. I really appreciate you. I still have not been able to stop by. I do want to return, financial love as well. I know that you're streaming. I just never get on it. I have not been on DLive as much as I used to be. Again, a lot of my favorite people left, and it's very sad. So thank you so much. Again, Miss Me, Dixie Doe, and we've got Bear Claws as well. Thank you guys. So pretty crazy as far as mining in Greenland. I don't know what else to say. I mean, there's obviously a lot of digging and mining and doing all these weird tunnels. We know that, of course, Elon Musk is doing asking, like, now he's talking to 3 or 4 more states about digging tunnels under their grounds. I bet you in just a matter of months they can actually do these projects and the public wouldn't even know. Let's see if those same states that he's talking to all of a sudden have the mystery booms. All right.
I would wonder too what's going to happen if we do go to conflict, which I know you've talked quite a bit about, and your other DoD contact has talked about. With China, if that happens, what happens with some of the rare things that we consume and we have to consume from them because they're mined only from, or at least they own like 80% of them, right? So whether it's rare earth minerals or other types of things. So that's why I'm also curious as to why this makes sense, why a lot of people are popping up mining in lots of different places and looking for some of these things that we may be reliant only on them for right now.
And the Alaska deal and all of the stuff with the infrastructure, there's all sorts of weird things going on right now. It seems like they're setting up to cut certain imports out that, obviously countries that we may be at conflict with. If you have an opinion on this, leave it down below. I'd love to hear it. Or you can call in at 2244-00-MARF. Diane Moses says, God bless, thank you. And Diane Moses, thank you for being here for a long time now. Open House Texas says, thank you, Adam Dex, and for great work. On the Cat Dog Cats website, look up Shielding Operation, created in 2019, and discusses separating the unviewed from the public. Would love to hear your thoughts. Open House Texas, that's actually that Mark Dice video. Classic. He went out and had people sign a petition to put people in jail that didn't get it. And a lot of people signed. Even the fact that one person signed is nuts to me, but a lot of people did. I'm very thank you to the people that told Mark Dice off. Even though Mark Dice was being totally sarcastic and it was a joke, there were people that said, no, you're a scumbag. Like, they told him off, not knowing who he was and that he was joking. That's the right response. I'm sorry. Like, nobody should be doing that. Maple Leaf 2020, welcome to the fam. Thanks for subscribing. As far as Greenland goes, what do you think of that situation? Do you think that there's something behind it? And then Russia, China hold large-scale joint military drills. Now, you would almost think that this is deja vu. This is a different drill. The last one we were talking about was west and east. This is, I believe, north and central China. This is a large, humongous drill involving these guys. This was just a couple days ago that we were talking about the other one. So now they're saying they're launching yet another drill. It says August 10th, Russia and China are holding a large-scale joint military exercise in north central China involving more than 10,000 troops. It says Russia's defense ministry said on Tuesday, it says the Sibu Cooperation 2021 drills in China's Ningxia region are being watched for signs that China or Russia are expanding military cooperation as they spar with the West. Russia's Kommersant newspaper said that the drills taking place until Friday marked the first time Russian soldiers would use Chinese weapons. Russia and China have conducted drills since 2005. Moscow sent Sukhoi Su-30 SM fighter aircraft, motorized rifle units, and air defense systems to the exercise that was focused on counter-terrorism. And, of course, the defense ministry said in the statement. So, this is great. And it says the drills come as the Taliban has gained ground in Afghanistan, where security has deteriorated as the United States withdraws its troops after 2 decades of conflict, creating a security headache for Moscow. Separately, Russia on Tuesday completed joint drills in Tajikistan and Uzbek and Tajik forces near the Afghan border. Moscow also said it was bulking up its military base in Tajikistan with assault rifles and other weapons. Moscow pivoted to China in 2014 as its political ties with the West sank to post-Cold War lows after the annexation of Crimea from Ukraine. China is Russia's biggest trade partner, and of course, this is not changing anytime soon. So, another thing to think about on this is, so they can actually line up troops. They can actually put things in when they do these drills. The reason why you have to pay attention to drills if you're watching this or if you're a prepper is because any drill can turn into a real event. A drill is a very easy way to move things around and nobody bats an eye because they say it's just an exercise. Just like when Russia moved 160,000 troops to the border of Ukraine, I don't think that was just pounding their chest. What they did is they moved all their vehicles and everything down there, and all of their portable bases are still up. I don't think people realize that. You look at new satellite photos, even after they moved the troops away, they were able to leave some of their temporary structures, some of the stuff that they would need if they were to invade Ukraine's border. So they've got all the vehicles, they've got everything down there for a strike. If, say they would do that, I believe they would do it at the same time as China would take Taiwan. I saw a lot of comments, again, people saying, well, who cares if they take Taiwan? I don't know Taiwanese people. I saw many of those, and I'm like, it's a democracy, and it won't be after they are done with it. But not only that, the resources in Taiwan, including the chip company or the chip manufacturer that gives the world most of its chips. Like, that's just stupid to give that up. That's like... That's like you have 10 fifth graders lined up for dodgeball. Well, actually, no, not dodgeball, for basketball, and you've got Shaq on the end, and you're like, well, you know what? You can have Shaq. We'll take Tubby Teddy over there. It just doesn't make sense. Rosette Cass, again, thank you. Appreciate that from Canada. What was that, Dex?
One thing I was thinking is if to go back to your point about moving things around, it is quite possible, although it might be super tricky, but they could be potentially moving or trading nukes from Russia to China. You know, like Russia has a few thousand or maybe 2,000 and China only has a few hundreds. So if they're trying to build up, and we know they are, not only would they be building their own, but they might even be trying to acquire others in sort of a nefarious way to help stock up before something goes on, because, you know, obviously they put a lot of value in that because they're spending so much to grow their own platform, right?
Yeah, yep. And we can back at least the part up of them rapidly trying to expand their nuclear arsenal. If you go to our website, what is cool about our website, marfooglenews.com, is up in the very right-hand corner, there's a search. Just like every website, you can search keywords, but what's also awesome is you can actually search the entire transcript from all of the previous shows since we started doing this. So then if I say something about, say, China, nuclear expansion, that kind of thing, you can type that in there and it will show you the shows we talked about it and give you the actual references and the proof, the actual sources that we used for that information. So then you... if I say anything, we have it backed up and a source behind it. And then there's some things that are just so completely obvious. I don't get how people don't see what's going on right now. especially over the last couple days. If you did not watch the event that happened over the last 3 days with the pillow guy, then you should probably be looking at that. There's some pretty crazy stuff going on. Again, right now, they're looking to get rid of anybody and anything talking about it. We have all of this stuff on the Too Hot for TV on our website. Andy Capitan, thank you for subscribing. David Harrell, thank you. Gypsy Daisy, close is a family member, is active military, and they just returned from a show of force against China. 6 weeks deployment to the Pacific. Gypsy Daisy, we actually talked about it before they were deploying all of those guys. They are deploying right now in mass numbers. And again, you can back that up. You can go look at all of the public deployments. It's insane. Where are these guys going? A lot of the places it's not public where they're going, but N-Home H, thanks. Marf loved the show. Thanks. From what I understand, TVs and Androids broadcasted the EBS, but Apple products did not. Actually, they did. Dex did get it, but he had to go a roundabout to get it. He had to actually text a special number. We'll talk about that here in a minute. The EAS alert, we're going to update you on that in just a bit, and we're going to have Lisa talk about that as well. She actually reached out to an NSA contact. We'll talk about that here in just a minute. So really, really crazy stuff here. And then, yes, we have the U.S. is sending B-52s and AC-30 gunships back to Afghanistan. We'll do this. Again, we talked about this the other day. We actually had, of course, they did go and drop some stuff there. Now, Dex, we actually talked about this just the other day. The update, there's an update to this, right? They actually did drop some stuff.
Yeah, they've been moving in, and it seems like it's kind of up in the air as if it's still part of the pullout, but there definitely is activity and action going on right now with our aircraft in that area, in that arena.
So they are dropping airstrikes over there, and then Chinese group carried out widespread cyber espionage campaign in Is. This is again the Times of Is that is accusing this, and it says that United States cybersecurity firm FireEye said a Chinese group has waged a widespread espionage campaign against the Israeli entities. So this is beef between China and Is going head to head. It says the attacks targeted government institutions, IT providers, and telecommunications firms in multiple concurrent operations starting in January 2019, according to the analysis released on Tuesday by the California-based FireEye. The hackers carried out data harvesting and reconnaissance, likely motivated by financial, technological, and business interest. FireEye did not report Chinese government involvement, but said that the targets coincided with Beijing's interests. Well, of course it did. I mean, come on now. They're just not going to... it's not just some random group of kids there. Everything is connected to the Chinese government there. If it's not, it gets caught and then gets absorbed into the Chinese government. It says during the same campaign against Is, the group attacked targets in Iran to the store, the United Emirates, and Kazakhstan, and may have sought to ascribe to the attacks to Maroon. So blame it on somebody else, right? Blame it on the other I country. Now, if you're new here, I just want to remind you that down in the chat, we push each other up. We help other channels. We never talk badly about other channels and what they do, even if they're talking badly about us. I do need to give this reminder because we have about 2,000 new people in the last couple days. Just so you know, our point is that we don't know everything and anything. We have huge groups of military on this channel. We used to have a Discord of over 500 active and retired military. That was taken down because of the amount of military in our group. But we still have all those people hanging out. They're still here. So I don't ever claim to be the all-knowing Wizard of Oz. We ask questions. Same with the EAS. We were asking questions. We're going to talk about that. A lot of people, I could not believe some of the stuff that was on that video. A lot of people said, nothing happened. Ha ha. I don't know what people expected with that EAS alert. I'll talk about that here in a second. Did you think your phone was going to blow up or have a message saying, NSA uploading now? You're not going to know if anything happened. That's our entire point. In fact, we're going to talk about of all of that in just a minute. You guys are going to trip. And then as far as that was actually a comment that was earlier. Do you think that these tensions between and China is going to be a big deal? All of it's going to be a big deal. These tensions are way beyond where we can go back from. Even if it's all a show, even if it's all circus and smoke and mirrors, it's still going to happen to the public, and it's probably going to further an agenda. Once WW3 happens, it's going to make certain people rich. I hope people realize that. Every world conflict that we've had, and even every conflict, has made certain people beyond rich. Like, we're talking about so rich that you can't spend all of your money in a lifetime. Even MC Hammer could not spend all the money these guys are making. And then, of course, we haven't talked about this in a couple weeks. It says the Ever Given incident is a warning about what Russia and China are capable of. Top Democrat warns. Is that really? So Dex, is one of the D party, are they talking some conspiracy here? This kind of sounds like it could be conspiratorial.
Yeah, I think so, but I think it's also that they're talking about the choke points and how what we saw happen to a single choke point, and the fact that there are many of these choke points around the world. And right off the bat, people think of Suez and Panama, but there's a lot of others, and there's a lot of others, and they go through
Taiwan Strait.
Right, exactly. Like, you remember we were going through. When we were going through this, there's some of the other ones that most people don't even think about, right? Like, there's these other areas that end up being choke points, and there have been military expansion in those areas from various countries and adversaries.
Yes, that's right. And this incident caused, they said it was something crazy, like $400 million an hour was bleeding out. So companies were losing $400 million per hour. And it lasted days. So something like this was a huge deal. This could collapse certain companies. This is the kind of stuff that can really destroy economies. And we're talking about, it wasn't just this ship. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of ships that could not go through, if not thousands. So something like this is financial, but also think about this in wartime. Think about if a ship like this was purposely upended and plugged in every strait during a world conflict. I'm sure somebody would play that dirty.
Well, even in a small conflict, like it happened with Russia and Ukraine. Russia took unnecessary ships that they had and they sank them, right? And causing, a disruption in the flow of the shipping in that area. So, yeah, it's been done before, and it'll probably be done in all sorts of interesting ways if major conflict, breaks out, like you said.
And remember, when this was plugged, if anything went down in the Middle East and we needed to get there and get our Navy there, it would have been a 30-day delay. They would have had to go all the way around Africa and all the way around Somalia, around the long way to get there. So if anything popped off, our entire naval fleet, since it would not be able to cut through here, would have to take a 30-day detour. That's huge. So just think about that in not just Suez, but other places if they plugged all of those. It is definitely something that is pretty scary. Let's see here. It says the container ship Ever Given getting stuck in the Suez Canal in March was a $1 billion demonstration of an overlooked security threat, a top D in Congress says. It says, I would have liked to have more focus and more people's hair on the back of their neck standing up, because I think a lot of people don't think about maritime choke points. Representative Elaine Loria, vice chair of the House Armed Services Committee, said at a Navy League event in July. It said the Ever Given was dislodged after 6 days, and experts were quick to note that the military significance in 2014, Russia sunk obsolete ships to block Ukrainian ships in a Crimean port. Disruptions like that are a threat in more places than most people think. It says, quote, if you ask people if they even know what a choke point is, they would probably come up with the Suez Canal and the Panama Canal, but not a lot of other ones. Loria said at the Hudson Institute this month, many choke points are already closely monitored. The Strait of Hormuz, which is, again, something I have talked about, something that happens there could possibly start the next world conflict. Fantastic Freddy, if you know what that means. It says, though which much of the world's oil is shipped, and the Bab el-Mandeb, through which Suez Canal traffic passes, both a heavy multinational military presence to counter threats from state and non-state actors. Other choke points are seeing increasing military activity amid changes to the security and natural environment. And then, look at this, the Greenland-Iceland-UK gap, which Russian warships must transit to reach the Atlantic Ocean, is an area of renewed focus for NATO. The Strait of Malacca is a vital channel between the Indian Pacific Oceans, and China's increasing presence there has worried neighboring countries, particularly India. The more accessible Arctic may also make the Bering Strait busier. In March 2020, the U.S. Navy's top officer said that he expected that the strait will at some point be strategically as important as the Straits of Malacca or Hormuz. So it says U.S. policymakers and military officials have warned repeatedly about China's presence in those waterways and ports around the world. So even the D side of the aisle is talking about China now, which you just didn't see before. They wouldn't even, not a single person on the D aisle would even join the China task force. Now everybody is actually pointing fingers. So what does that tell you? It at least tells you that now everybody's opening their mouths about it. So we'll see. 6,700 people on YouTube. Thank you, and very blessed to have every one of you here. So thank you so much. Ray 82228, thank you for subscribing. Louisiana Skywatch says, off topic, but why are they holding Skywatchers down? Just didn't know if you knew. Foogle fam for life. Anything with clouds? Is that what you're talking about? I know that they put little marks and stuff and change videos. I don't know. I guess it depends on what you're talking about. Kiwi Lass from NZ says NZ is shutting down its only oil refinery, so another shutdown or a plug will hurt us. Good point, Kiwi Lass. That's a great point. Remedy 59. Why do you suppose the is pre-filled? Yeah, exactly. DB Cooper, Gary and DB Cooper, thanks for subscribing. Gary and Heather Kadera, thank you for subscribing. Tracy Dose, all the new people that are here. Again, just remember, be very, very polite to others in the chat. I know that the chat is probably going nuts right now. Billy Leather says, thank you for all you Dex and the mods do. We just had a local restaurant shut down due to the supply shortage. Had been serving the public for the last 50 years. Was called Spiffy's off of I-5 exit 68. Actually, I've been to Spiffy's, so I did not know that that's been there before I was born. That's really sad. I've actually seen signs with our local governor's face on it, saying 30 years in business, F you, and they're closing down. There were several places that closed down because of the lockdowns. Very, very sad. All right, and then before we lose you, again, I highly, highly recommend, if you do not know, we have talked about this. We've talked about the threats to our electrical grid here in the United States and abroad. If you are here right now, I would highly, highly recommend you go over to Emp Shield and check them out. Again, this is a company that is actually working with DHS, Department of Homeland Security, DOD, Department of Defense, and, of course, the DEMSO team helping protect the military and government structures. Can you protect yourself? Well, of course you can. If you go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP, you can actually protect yourself against all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3, and you can protect yourself against the natural kind. We are expecting at least a natural CME, just like we did 100 years ago. It's overdue. That is guaranteed to happen. It's a matter of when, not if. If you don't want your devices fried, you would definitely want to go look at this. There's models for your car, there's models for your RV, your house, your generators, your solar system, and even a model for a ham radio. The car model takes about 5 minutes to put in, It's literally that easy. Again, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. A small commission goes to us after you get a $50 huge discount that stacks on top of any sale they're doing. So it helps both of us. It helps us as an independent media, and it helps you as a consumer. So thank you so much for everybody that has already protected themselves. Again, it is something that is not going away. The threat is still there, and it is bigger than ever. And I believe everybody will find that out very soon. And Helm H, again, thank you for your support. And then we have Elon Musk slammed over SpaceX plan to put satellite ad billboard in space. We'll talk about this in just a second. Let's get our next caller on. We have Cisco, first-time caller, talking about wildfires. And we can use historical aerial maps and satellites to see if anything looks funny. Let's get Cisco on. Cisco, you're live on Marfoogle News.
Hey, Adam, how's it going?
So good. So what are you talking about as far as aerial maps go?
Well, I was watching, I've been watching what these so-called elites, as they call themselves, have been doing for quite some time. Like you have, also been following you for quite some time, and gotta say, you do an awesome job. And I'm glad you got a chance to go and do, your documentary thing. That was awesome. Now, what I wanted to point out was where these fires were taking place, the times they were taking place, and the fact that there might be, certain satellites over these areas.
Yeah, and we can access those, right?
Well, I was thinking, we have a lot of people in the Foogle fam that watch patterns, flight patterns, stuff like that. And who knows, maybe they might be able to come across patterns that just look a little funny when it comes to these fires, if you know what I mean.
Well, that's what I was talking about. That's why I reached out to Twitter after this last EAS alert. I wanted to know if there was anything funky on radar over the last 24 hours, just to see if there just happened to coincide with something weird that's going across. Because we have multiple Foogle fan members that have even started their own channels that have caught these weird cross-country lines of kind of weird radar or weird frequencies, weird laser beams, all sorts of weird stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, also, I'm not really one for the camera, and I do have a channel. I co-host a channel as well, Logic in Charge, just a little quick pop there. But we were discussing going around to our local communities and getting interviews from people, because you were touching on, a local restaurant that had just shut down after 50 years of service. And unfortunately, I live in an area that's seen a whole lot of that. Globalization took this area and ravaged it. And then, all the other policies pushed forth by the Marxists in our country have done fantastic work in this area. Note the sarcasm.
I get you.
But yeah, so, so I feel your pain there. I also wanted to point the Foogle fam's attention to the person who was in charge down south when certain levees broke, and who's in charge of our military now.
Very good point. I'll pull that up on screen too, so people will be able to see that. I never even thought of that.
Say what?
I never thought of that. I'll so people can understand that. I'll pull that up. Well, I appreciate your call today, and Cisco, I've seen your name here for a long time. How long have you been watching?
For quite some time, since you were in your car.
Well, I appreciate you, and I don't know why you haven't called sooner. Don't be a stranger, okay?
I'm a watcher.
That's all right. Well, thank you for calling in, Cisco, and I appreciate it. I hope that you are excited for our next caller as well. Thank you, and you have a blessed day, okay?
You as well, Adam. Stay safe.
All right, you too. Be safe, be prepared. Marv out. Our next caller here in just a minute is going to be Lisa Kay, a military analyst that had a very similar position to Edward Snowden. Literally dealt with the same software, all sorts of stuff. Really, really, really crazy stuff. We're going to talk about the EAS alert here in just a second. But of course, let's talk about tech billionaire Elon Musk has been criticized over plans that would see his SpaceX company launch a satellite displaying billboard ads into space. Proposals were revealed earlier this week, which would see SpaceX teaming up with Canadian tech startup Geometric Energy Corporation on its CubeSat project. The satellite would have a massive screen on one side where people can bid to have their logos and advertisements displayed, and could even be launched as soon as early 2022. Oh my gosh, what a world we're in right now. According to Samuel Reed, CEO and co-founder of GEC, the company will pay SpaceX to launch an advertisement satellite into low Earth orbit. This is like, Dex, this is literally like out of a movie right now. We are living these crazy future movies from the 80s.
Yeah. Could you imagine, though, like up in the sky, a big giant Foogle fan?
I don't know. It's probably going to be pretty expensive. I wonder if they can send, like, even if we could just get like 10 seconds on there, enough for a picture. Because I bet it's going to be one of those like screens that, you know, can change it every 10 minutes. It's not like they're going to put a poster up there or something. It's going to be a digital
I imagine they
screen.
might even run a contest or two and give away to those who can't afford it.
Man, that's just nuts. Think about that. Seeing a giant name in space. Why haven't they?
Well, you know what'll happen is someone will actually sponsor the whole thing, just like they sponsor arenas and other things, and they'll just have their name in the sky permanently. I mean, could you imagine, you know, like there's a name up there, like, you know, Oracle is sitting in the sky forever.
Even better, if that happened, I guarantee you T-Man would spend all of his money to get his name up there. You know it. He would have the T-Man satellite. Well, we'll see. This is like in the next year. I mean, how fast has the last year gone? Think about this. We might have actual advertisements in space in the next year. That's incredible. Researchers create Masterfaces to bypass facial recognition. According to the papers, their findings imply that facial recognition systems are extremely vulnerable. Dex, do you want to talk about this? You're one of our tech experts here. As far as what the many faces is?
Yeah, basically what they did was they used algorithms, or AI, if you want to use that term, heuristics, to map out a whole lot of possibilities for a facial structures, and they were able to then use a handful of designed facial structures that could then be used to fool facial recognition. In other words, with, say, I'll make this number up. Let's say you had 7 different faces. You could unlock like 70% of all faces in that category, right? In other words, showing that maybe that the facial recognition capabilities that we have today aren't as good as we may think they are.
So like a master key for all Hondas, they would have a master. Is it kind of reversal of that kind of thing?
Exactly. And like if you had that face, maybe you could unlock a device, or if you had that face, maybe it would not know who you were because you would match 70% of the entire database, which would throw off the algorithms.
So then that means that this isn't even a good thing to have. And iPhones don't even have an option for, or any of the newer ones don't even have fingerprint. They only have Face ID, if that's like, they say it's so good. It says in their paper, researchers at the Blatinovic School of Computer Science and the School of Electrical Engineering in Tel Aviv tell how they successfully created 9 master key faces that are able to impersonate almost half of the faces in the dataset of 3 leading face recognition systems. The researchers say that their results show that these master faces can successfully impersonate over 40% of the population in these systems without any additional information or data of the person they are identifying. Wow, that's incredible. So look at this. This kind of shows you what they're talking about. These faces can just be tweaked a little bit, and they pass. I've never used it. Again, face recognition. I did do it on one of my older phones, which means now they have it. It doesn't matter though. All these phones will have your face recognition anyways.
Well, and there's a couple things to think about though when you talk about security. Like on an iPhone, for example, facial recognition isn't just a picture of your face, right? It notices your eye movements, where they are, positioning. So if you were going to fool that, you would have to literally fool it with a mask or, a real, the semblance of a real person's head with temperature and all that. But what they're talking about here specifically is in cameras that are just scanning faces, like walking through the airport, right? They're constantly scanning faces on the cameras, and they're running those through these databases to try and find people, and they're actually getting a lot of false arrests. They're arresting people based on information, and they're trying to prove that the facial recognition systems that they're using for this database recognition is what's being fooled, not necessarily the technology you might use to secure a device, which would be very custom tailored to your particular face, but these mass databases where they're scanning through and trying to identify a face in seconds out of a huge database. That's what they're saying is really not working right.
Oh, again, so you want to know what's so crazy is I was just reading an article about Target, and it said not to shoplift at Target, and here's the reason why. So if during CV, one thing that I have noticed, and I have seen so many people just walk straight out of Target with whole big jackets. I was just telling Dex last week that I think I was on the phone with you. A guy walked out with a shopping cart with a TV in it, and he just kept looking back, and I was like, this is pretty obvious. It was guaranteed when the shopping cart, he took it across this 5-lane road and it just kept running, right? Out of the parking lot, just going with this big screen TV picked up off of the display like the ones on sale. It didn't have one of those wrap security things in it or whatever. He just walked out. Nobody chased him. But here's the crazy part. Target actually has like a CSI lab. They do fingerprints. This was basically explaining why Target does this. If you've been in Target lately and you've seen people walk out with stuff, which I guarantee you, down in the chat, let's see how many people have seen just in the last year and a half, people just walk out with stuff or walk out with full carts and nobody does anything. A lot of these places have no touch policies because that's how they open up themselves for lawsuits. If they touch a customer and they're accidentally wrong, or even if they're right and they hurt the customer, they can get sued. So what they do is they let them go. But this is what I didn't know. Target apparently has one of the most advanced facial recognition systems, one like this, which maybe people are falsely being accused of stuff, that basically keeps track of these people. And you know what they do? They actually let people steal. They let people get, and here's another thing I did not know. Target goes across state lines. So if somebody goes into a Seattle Target, then goes into an Oregon Target, then goes into a New York Target, and they steal, say the limit for felony is $200. They steal a $200 TV. Then they go to another one, they steal a $200 TV. They'll let them walk right out. Then they steal another $100 TV. Once that hits the $500 mark, they have made a foolproof case against them. They actually build a case, and they have a CSI lab. They do fingerprints, facial recognition, all this. I knew none of this. I knew these places had facial recognition and that kind of stuff. Every time you go to self-checkout now, which they are forcing you to do in almost every store, there's a camera right there. They are basically getting you to stand in front of a mug shot and get your picture. Think about that. And they will end up, by the time they catch them, there's whole Reddit threads on this. They will come with high-level loss prevention officers and these high-level police officers, sheriffs, and they will find them no matter what state they're in. They've been building a case. So say it's something smaller. Somebody's flipping $5 Blu-rays. They'll wait until they steal 100 $5 Blu-rays to go catch them. I thought it was fascinating. But the scary part, though, is all these places that we're going, they're not announcing this. They are using these facial recognition systems everywhere. and they are getting more advanced, and they are also getting more mistakes. So think about that. In fact, Representative Ilhan Omar's running, the person who was running against her, they got accused of stealing from Target. That could have, maybe it wasn't her, or maybe it wasn't him or whoever it was. Maybe it wasn't them, but the facial recognition, had the wrong idea.
Well, and keep in mind, everything you just described is exactly what a social credit system would have.
Isn't that nuts? I just think it's absolutely crazy. By the way, I missed one, and I hope they didn't think that I was trying to do it because it says I'm Dex's #1 fan. Says Gerald Jaramillo. Dex, did you hear that? They did a super,
that's awesome.
Super chat says I'm Dex #1 fan. And then that was Gerald Jaramillo. Sir Budrick, again, thank you. Laughamore says longtime listener Lurker. I have never gotten an emergency alert, nor did anyone I know today. We got to look at the comment section of that. There are a lot of people actually did get it, and they were the only people in the whole store. They said nobody else got it. Sunnygale, Maple Leaf 2020. I would like to ask those people that said that they did get it, do you have a burner phone? You'll see why in a second here. Henry Kissinger and Eric Schmidt, big treatise on artificial intelligence panned in early. Now, again, it says Henry Kissinger, age 97, has written a new book. Wow, writing a new book at 97. This guy's like drinking blood or something. This is just creepy. Two co-authors is former chief Eric Schmidt. It says Little Brown has, quote, The Age of AI and Our Human Future set as a November release. But very quietly, the book was panned back in June in Publishers Weekly. It's not a good sign. It says PW wrote, well, they raise thought-provoking questions about the implications of AI on geopolitics, notably as European nations debate whether to use U.S. or Chinese platforms. They're musing on the impact AI has and will have humans' daily lives feel cursory. The authors also rely on familiar examples of AI success stories, AlphaZero, a chess-playing machine, and Halcyon, an AI-generated antibiotic, come up time and time again, despite the work's brief moments on Insight. The Age of AI started out as an article 2 summers ago in The Atlantic called Metamorphosis. So at least the authors guaranteed a decent review in that magazine when the book is published. Hold on. Am I missing something here?
Well, ultimately, we've got, as I look at this and think, this is kind of crazy. You've got these two people talking about and writing a book about AI, right? Like, what world are we living in where Kissinger is involved? and we know what he probably knows and what he's involved in. So this is kind of crazy. This is one person's opinion on the book, and it's really early. Obviously they don't like it, but
why not? There was another article about this. Okay, so the two co-authors, it's Eric Schmidt from Oogle, and it's Henry Kissinger. Like, what a weird team that is. How did they become friends, or how did they even? That's what the weird connections in Hollywood and in the elitist kind of circles. It's like, how does Eric end up being friends with Henry Kissinger? He's 97 years old. It's like these weird connections are just everywhere. And of course, back in the day, everything Google was Eric. That was him, especially on this platform, because they own this platform. Everything was, he was everywhere. Very crazy. Dex, do you want to tell people about Nord, and then let's get Lisa on the phone?
Sure. NordVPN. If you want to protect yourself, it's real simple. It's one of the easiest VPNs out there. It'll help you and it'll help the channel. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. You can install it on up to 6 devices. It's so easy. You literally just flip on and off like a light switch, and when it's on, you're protected. Your IP is in another location, and it helps prevent the bad guys from finding you, and it also helps protect your location from anyone that's snooping around. Or if you're trying to get out and get information from other locations where you may be blocked, a VPN can absolutely be a great tool to use to do that. So again, really easy one, very simple to use. You get a great discount if you go over there, marfooglenews.com/VPN.
And make sure to use the special savings code Marfoogle to save. It always has a huge savings and helps us. We are truly independent. We do not have a multi-channel network. So you guys are our backbone. Okay, let's get Lisa on. Lisa's been waiting patiently. Lisa is a former military analyst, has lived through a whole lot. Absolutely amazing person. So let's talk to Lisa about this. So Lisa, I reached out to you to talk to you about the video that we put out. It's recently, in fact, Dex, could you give me a link to the video? It's upwards of 300,000, 350,000 views since yesterday morning. And there's a reason everybody is talking about this WEAS alert. And I talked about it, and I was basically saying that I thought maybe we should turn off our phones. But in a way, I was incorrect, wasn't I?
Well, hello, Marf, and hey, Foogle fam. Yes. I thoroughly appreciate your openness to potentially being corrected, and here's where I'm going to go with that. To those of you for at least somewhat near my age, you remember those old Nokia phones where you could change the faceplate? You could also take off your battery. That battery that's now not removable, it means that turning off your phone isn't going to prevent anything. So if there's something that you're concerned about being pushed onto your phone, as that actually is a reasonable fear, really the only way you're going to stop something like that has nothing to do with whether or not your phone is on or off. The only thing that I can think of is like a Faraday cage, right? Because you're going to have power that connects to your phone no matter what. If you've ever had your phone off, but you have an alarm set up, and for some reason your phone wakes up at 7 a.m. just to make sure you know that alarm is going to go on, they can access and push stuff onto your phone, even with this EAS system, regardless of whether or not it's on or off. So yes, sir.
So here's one thing that a lot of people said on that video. A lot of people said, nothing happened, see, ha, ha, ha. But what they don't realize is, I don't understand what people thought was going to happen. Did you think that your phone was going to literally blow up? Like, did you think you were, it was going to heat up and then, destroy you, or a hand would reach out? If anything was to happen, you would never know about it. And again, one thing, you kind of looked at the video and you reached out to a couple people. Do you want to just kind of talk about, after you saw that video, what you thought? So
let's start with this, right? I saw the video. You're right to be concerned, but there's also kind of a lot more to this, right? And anything that involves our government is going to be highly bureaucratic and convoluted. So first and foremost, let's call it the FEMA, that is part of the Department of Homeland Security, right? So a lot of things are going to be cloaked in this conceptual benevolence of only the positive side of the double-edged sword. And so we'll look at this as, the WEA or EAS or these tests and these systems being put together. Essentially, what they're trying to say is that this stuff is going to happen so that we can access people in emergencies, whether it's the number one emergency that they talk about. The second thing that they'll talk about is, essentially late 70s, when we first started developing the access to call 911, it was tied to a landline phone. And that landline phone is going to be tied to a name and an address so that they could triangulate your location to bring you whatever emergency assistance you needed at the time. Well, as technology has advanced, right, cell phones don't necessarily have an address tied to them. And so there's a bunch of updates that went into part of what this test was about. And there's some paperwork that if people really want to go through, they can kind of find it. There's a lot through the FEMA website, and there's even a lot that's through the Department of Homeland Security. There's three main things that change, though, right? So you have a software system update that's going to connect to all of these different sites or locations that are just outliers that will push information out, right? And those are not all government owned. Some of those are private entities, but they needed to update everything. So for any of these additional entities to get grants or money from, you know, the FEM or whatever, they have to keep up with all of that. So they had to be able to push it out for that. The next thing is they changed the size of the information that they can send out. So normally it was up into about 90 characters. I believe it's around 360 characters now, which now includes video. It includes pictures. It includes, I mean, this is now full access to interrupt whatever. So whatever they dictate or constitute as an emergency in order to access every person with a phone. Now, I know that you mentioned earlier with regards to burner phones, and here's especially something I was talking to a couple of my contacts about, right? They're going to have all of that stuff enabled. And it's going to be, again, cloaked in this benevolent sort of supportive idea that if something happens, you know, and you had an emergency situation, you want them to be able to track you down geographically so that they can offer whatever support and assistance you need. Well, it's a little more than just that. Again, everything's going to be a double-edged sword, right? So there's that supportive aspect, but essentially it's almost like you're bringing an informant with you wherever you go. If you just like roll up to Walmart and be like, hey, I need one of those little Vodafones or whatever, it's already going to have that stuff enabled. With that in mind, right, there's a recent lawsuit that just came out, a week ago. It was the 2nd of August, and it's against Alejandro Mayorkas, right? This is our DHS fella, and it's with regards to an emergency situation. You might call it a crisis. I would say, you know, it's one of those southern things, especially in Texas, and for May and June, right? And you'll find all of this in this lawsuit if you decide to look it up. It's up to anybody else. But May and June, you had 180,000 persons that decided to, you know, Red Rover, send these persons right over. And June was 188,000. The estimates for July are around 210,000, right? So you're looking at essentially more than 500,000 people, and that would definitely constitute an emergency, at least in my book. And with these people relocating into our glorious nation, there's going to be communication that's going to need to happen. And one of the ways that you can really address that emergency, right, is through updating and tracking things and making sure all the software is updated so that you can track, you know, far more narrow of a triangulation than you would have before. One of the other things that this update included is it now includes Spanish. So these alerts, one, there's no guarantee that you'll actually get a message, right? Much like that whole issue that we had recently with Pegasus, this is not a user-dependent sort of thing that would happen. You don't have to open up, you know, an email or click on a link or do anything. This stuff is going to be there regardless of your interaction with it.
There's no change on the user end. So all these people saying nothing happened, oh, you're full of it, nothing happened. You cannot say that. And actually, all the towers sent this out. You just didn't have anything happen on your phone. You actually proved my point by saying that. We don't know what could have happened. We're asking the question and telling you that this is a possibility. My mistake, though, was I should have told people to put it in an E-Deck bag or something like an E-Deck or a Faraday bag because they could access it anyways. As far as people kept saying, oh, well, they can access your phone anytime. Again, yeah, they can. But to do it to the entire country all at once, that's a whole different story. As far as you said that they could, but again, the cell phone companies, wouldn't they be asking questions why they would be doing that? I mean, doesn't that kind of pop up too?
So you would think so. And initially that was one of the bigger issues and why they kind of changed a lot of these directives. And these directives started changing. Well, one of the big ones that changed happened the 30th of March in 2011, right? We had a presidential policy directive, PPD 8, that was put out by the president that was in position at that time. And in very specific terms, right, what they're talking about is ways to assist communities affected by an incident. Now, that incident can cover all sorts of things down to just national interests, right? So with that being the case, you're going to see a lot of things now, much like this recent, budgetary-esque piece of legislation that went through the Senate yesterday. That is a very loose term for what they're talking about. So even through like FEMA's NIMS incident guide, the way that they describe what is considered a part of any sort of like emergency sort of situation, sometimes that's just things that are that reference political sensitivity, or things that might be, a threat to like life, limb, or eyesight. Sometimes things that are just weather. Sometimes it's going to be things with regards to agency policy. So 2 POTUSes ago, they started changing the rules for what was applicable, and any cell company or private communications company, and this is kind of where the FCC had to partner with the FEM in order to really establish this test and kind of make it a joint effort, is any sort of grants or governmental support that is going to coincide with their needs in the future are now dependent on their participation. So there has been a lot of overreach with this stuff, and you'll find that like as recent as 2018, 2019, there have been court cases. I think the most recent one was in Maine, and in this court case, they talk about how it's a breach of liberty and privacy for, American citizens. And again, that's where that lofty goal of the greater good kind of comes into play. So if they want help, if they want support in the future, if they want access to, certain areas in order to set things up, or so I lived in Utah at the time that we had the Olympics, the Winter Olympics in 2002, right? We had just crazy construction that happened for years and years before everything was even going to take off. But in order for different communication companies to be able to have access to where some of these events were taking place, they had to have approval, because some of that is going to be the Bureau of Land Management access that they have to go through. And that's a federal entity. And if you're not on their, good list, they're not going to help you out. So it becomes this back and forth thing of, you scratch our back and we'll scratch yours. So they're doing their best to mind their P's and Q's, because liberties are going up and they're just being taken away from us as quickly as you can even imagine. So that thing that happened about a week or so ago with regards to Apple and iPhones, right? Again, this cloaked in benevolence and being supportive and trying to do good things, right? What they were saying is, we're going to scan through not just everybody's devices, but also their clouds. And yes, we're looking for CP. However, you had a lot of people that got ticked off and said that's an infringement of my rights and my personal privacy and my liberties. And as a result of this, right, I don't know if I want to have Apple products anymore. I don't think you guys have the right to do this. And anybody who talks out or speaks out against it, they say, oh, well, you mean you support CP? You support this type of like abuse or whatever? And it's not a black and white sort of thing. There's a lot of gray area in this. And that's really where the big problems lie. And so you have to kind of go through and sift through all of this bureaucratic baloney just to even see what's really going on. So once you get through the FEM and all of the, DHS stuff, then you get into NIMS, right? And it's the National Integrated, it's an incident reporting system, right? And they start talking about what their goals are, what, their purpose is, and what direction they're taking. And the very second paragraph, when you get into this, they talk about stakeholders, right? Now, why would a government organization be concerned with reporting to stakeholders? And according to, the FEM, they define that as anyone who has or thinks that they might have a personal interest in the outcome of any policy. So these software updates, these tests, these changes with how things are going to interact, you know, with regards to EAS or WEA or whatever, is applicable to stakeholders.
So again,
and so it's very convoluted. You don't see everything, and there's no real way to just off the top of your head protect yourself from stuff unless you're actively making the effort to have a Faraday bag, make sure you're using VPNs.
So
and if you get any sort of like malware or spyware, you need to factory reset your phone in order to get it off of there.
So
because
Lisa,
there's nothing that you can do to pull it out.
Lisa, so just so everybody understands what they're doing here, and to break it down into, because again, it's over. There's so much information here. WEAS, these systems, so they can send these mass things out. Again, part of these WEAS, the reason why Edward Snowden and McAfee, if I say it right, when they did all of these things, when they were talking about upstream surveillance, it is now advanced to the point where they are publicly basically telling us that they're going to be scanning our phones, doing all this. There's a lot of things that are happening all at once. When she's saying Apple will scan all of your photos, it includes you. If you have an Apple or an iCloud, all of your photos are going to be gone through, and they've told you that. They're looking for, of course, this. And again, if you say, well, I don't want you don't want us finding this, abuse? Are you against, are you for that or something? No, I'm for, keeping my stuff private. As far as everything else in this whole WES system and the presidential alert and everything else, these can be used for greater nefarious situations. They could also possibly be used to locate every single American in the event of a massive disaster. These are the doomsday event. It says specifically on this website exactly what Lisa Marie just said, which is that they are selling the devices pre-opted in, and those burner phones at Walmart and at Target and Fred Meyer, all those phones, those cheapo phones, that's what a burner is. You don't even need your social security number. And you think you've got a burner, but what they're really doing with things like this, they can push it out to everybody all at one time. Nobody asks questions from the phone companies, all of this. With what she was mentioning with Pegasus and all of this other stuff, there's a broad network here. Basically, the thing about Lisa is she's saying we're losing all of our freedoms just everywhere, literally everywhere. We do not have a freedom that is not being encroached right now. So Lisa, I'm gonna have you finish off in under 2 minutes, just because we're on a time constraint. And then when I bring you back in, I also want to ask you to explain, why your background matters in this. A lot of new viewers don't understand what you did in the military.
Okay, so the easiest way for me to explain it is I was a cryptologic linguist. So anything with regards to patterns and patterns with technology. If you want to look it up, you can search SIGINT, SIGINT. It's intelligence that comes from signals. And this being said, right, technology is advancing much faster than people are capable of really looking at the bigger picture, right? And then this is going to be the best example with which to analogize this, okay? When we came up with the automobile, we realized that we were changing transportation forever. What we didn't realize is that we were changing the layouts of cities and how cities and municipalities are laid out, because you no longer had to live within like horseback or walking distance of, a store, a home, a business, whatever. We had adapted to a point where now you could go long distances. So that invention has this side effect that people might not notice, like the invention of the internet. We didn't realize what that would do to the music industry and downloading music and things like that. There's always going to be a side consequence that is going to come rearing its ugly head, and you can't take it back. And with liberties and your freedoms, as any of us have seen since the 11th day of September 20 years ago, once those freedoms get taken, I have yet to see them given back. And so we have to actively, as a group, stand up against the loss of our liberties. I get that it's well-intentioned. And I don't claim to be like the end-all be-all knowledgeable person about everything. We have to all work together with information and with, a movement towards everybody being informed so that we can prevent that overreach, that tyrannical, possibility in the future, so that we are all aware and all actively participating because of our own choices into what's going on. Sorry if that was too long.
No, that was perfect, Lisa. Again, I think that this whole situation with this, again, is a lot of people don't realize if anything is going to happen, you're never going to know it. And you're already getting watched, you're already getting listened to. But what comes next? They're making big moves. If you haven't noticed with the last 2 years, there is a lot of big things that are happening right now. If you didn't follow that event, that's the cyber event that's been going on for 3 days, then you have no idea what's going on in the world. If you are following that, then you realize everything is falling, pieces are falling together, and there are big people listening. There's about to be one half versus one half, and it's about to get real. So people need to prep. That's our main point here. People need to get their stuff together. Lisa, thank you so much for calling in tonight. I appreciate you. Again, we've got so many new people. They don't really know how chat works. We've got chat going nuts. Thank you. I so much appreciate you. I want to have you back on the show. I really love having you here, okay?
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for letting me be here, and take care. Have a good night, Foogle fans.
All right, thank you. That was Lisa Marie. Again, very amazing caller right there. Thank you so much, and thank you for correcting me, Lisa. I appreciate that. I made mistakes, and if I make mistakes or if I say something wrong, I'll correct it. What I'm not going to correct, though, is that I do believe that I think there's something there, and I'm still going to ask questions, and I think everybody should too. Question everything. Question me. Question anybody that says anything. Don't ever listen to just a YouTuber, one of us or all of us. Even if we're all 5, 10, 20 of us are on the same thing, just make sure to go with your gut. And my gut, I'm just telling you what my gut thinks. And with the knowledgeable people around me, I 100%, I know in my heart we are going to conflict with one or multiple countries very soon. And if that doesn't, there's not a thing in my mind that says that's not going to happen. I don't even think anymore like it's a matter of when or if. I think it will happen inside 2 years. And that's because after talking to somebody who was in the know, and then talking to another, and then to talk to somebody who was like up there, and for them to say that, it's done. I'm not going to change my view because I don't think that would help the public, and I don't think it would help anybody. I think people need to realize, like, this is a real thing. People say, oh, this is for fear and this. Okay, then be afraid somewhere else. Right here, we're going to be a family. We're going to push each other up. We're going to be positive. If you're negative in the chat or any of this, just realize before you got here, I know you're new here, we totally get you're probably dealing with a crappy day or whatever it is. Once you get here, it's all pushing you up. And I guarantee you, I swear to you, you sit in here and everybody starts treating you nicely every single day, you're going to start feeling like, wow, this is cool. I misjudged this. Because the people in here actually caring about each other, where do you get that? Nobody gives a crap about you in real life. And if you are into this stuff, they're going to call you Looney Tunes. Our whole point is here that you're not crazy. I don't think any of you are crazy. The things that that Lisa knows and other people know, it's like every conspiracy ever has almost come true now. So stop even giving credence to the people that are giving you crap about what you believe. And if you think you're right and I'm wrong, that's fine. Put your thoughts in a nice and polite way in there and say, I disagree. I think it's this way. And everybody will respond positively to you. But if you come and say, you're wrong, blah, 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 what's the point of that? Why do you expel energy on negativity like that? There's no point. Trust me, once you get past that, when you start just being polite like you would in real life. If you walk into a party, you're not just going to be flipping everybody off going, pew, 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 everybody, I'm a dick. especially if you don't know anybody, you're going to sit against the wall quiet and wait for somebody to say hi. Our people will say hi to you right off the bat, and our people will say, how are you doing? And they'll say, what do you need? And especially when we had our Discord, we had 15,000 people in our Discord, people meeting in every single state. So people, I still get the same guy, I think it's the same guy, saying, if you're not going to do anything, sit, speak up or shut up or something. Everybody is speaking up. We're building a platform right now. And who knows? I hope we don't get taken down before we get enough staff to run it. Because guess what? We don't have a back. If you don't have a website like Discord taking the responsibility, we have to take it. So, again, thank you for everybody that supports this channel, supports Dex and I, and supports the mods. The mods play a super important role here because this community being a place where everybody is pushing each other up, that's what matters. Like, you guys got to get around this. The division about even the little things, if you're divided over these little subjects, where are we moving forward then? If the number one tactic by these people, here's another thing. Everybody is accusing everybody of being a shill or a government this. That is such a waste of time. All these people accusing people of being fed this, fed that, or shill this, shill that. And I see it all over the truth community. That's exactly what they want. They want all of us to be fighting each other instead of fighting up above. And if they put even just a seed of doubt, then everybody is accusing everybody, and everybody's doing that. I say the people that are accusing most of the time are the people that are doing it. If we're divided and if we're fighting with each other, then we're not getting anything done. It is now go time. You need to grow the hell up and sit with other adults and talk about stuff. Do you remember 20 years ago when you could say, I voted for this person? And they said, I hate that guy. Huh. Continue our conversation. Now it's, I shut down, trigger alert. It's bull. We need to start growing up, treat each other with respect. We're all adults. We've all gone through crap. We all have stuff going on right now. Whether you're getting evicted, whether you're living in your car, whether you're living in a camper, whether you're living on the street, whether you have cancer, whether you just lost your spouse, whether your kids are sick, whether your kids have new things that you've never seen before, doctors can't identify. We all have stuff. Why don't we just start treating each other with respect? And I don't care if he talked too much. This is a 3-hour show. If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be. But be respectful of our callers, our chat, and you'll be just fine. And I promise you, after you get that, because everybody wants to kick the cat. If you ever listen to the Zig Ziglar, everybody's coming down on you, so you come down on somebody else. You come down on the taxi driver. The taxi driver goes home to his kid, says, get to your room, and then that kid kicks the cat. What did the cat do? Nothing. And that's what you're passing down every time. You get cut off in traffic, then you cut somebody else off. Then you get in an accident. It's a continuing cycle. It's over. Let's move on. Right now with this alert and with everything else, you are going to soon realize that everything has a purpose in this entire 2-year timeline. Dex, can you tell us about the Too Hot for TV on the website?
Absolutely. So lots going on over there. If you go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, scroll down to web-only content, you'll see the rest of the story. Everything else that we can't talk about. Things going on like the Pillow Man, some interesting shenanigans happening in politics. If you're not seeing what's happening there, then you're missing a lot of the big picture. So definitely go take a look. marfooglenews.com. Click on today's thumbnail and scroll down to web-only content.
By the way, I want to say a big thank you to the PayPal supporters during the show. Kira C says, hi, Marf. I've followed your channel for years. Love, love, love your new channel. Bless you, Dex, and both your families and all of the Foogle fam. Happy to catch a show. Sending love from Tennessee. Deborah C, thank you for your PayPal support. Thank you. Lady Green Eyes says, love you so much, Adam and Marf and Mrs. Marf. Maybe someday a Canadian in Ontario can be a mod. So happy for my sweet friend Jem, Dex and mods, and my only family, Lady Green Eyes. Deborah S, thank you. And Deborah C, thank you. Blue Homemade Heaven, thank you so much for your support. And then Kelly K, thank you guys for supporting Independent. On YouTube, tons of support tonight. Thank you guys. We are just more than blessed to have all of you here. Watcher 2 says, turn a room in your home into a Faraday room ASAP. It would look literally like a scene out of, what was that? Better Call Saul. I think that was the show that had that. Ghost Baby Guy says, God bless you all. Adam, Dex, mods, and family. Use discernment. Treat others as you want to be treated. United we stand. Divided we fall. I mean, it's a cliche thing, but it's true. Prayers up and out. Remedy 59. Follow your gut even if it makes no sense, because you will understand later, guaranteed. Exactly. Twilight Girl, thank you for subscribing. Remedy 59. Those that are complaining on info, find the door and exit. I agree with you. Dave Stealth Bomber. I took heed and put my phone on in an E-deck bag, but did watch on work TV at 2:27 p.m. Wife and daughter turned off phones. So it did happen. It happened on TV and radio. That definitely happened for some reason, not in some cities. But again, it did happen to the ones that opted in. On iPhone, you had to text a certain number, then reply yes to it and all of that. Brett Butler says, super happy to catch a live show. Ghost Baby Guy, thank you. Stay vigilant. God bless. Daily prayers up and out. Veteran Steve. I knew that. I knew you didn't disappear. You were just under another name. RA55, thanks for your support. Blessed are be the peacemakers, and shall be so called the sons of God, Matthew 5:9. Much love, Marf, Dex, and Foogle fam. If I missed anybody, I will catch you on the next show. Wise Al from Europe. Ray, thank you for subscribing. Gail Light, Mountain Medic, and all of the other new people. Seeking Truth, thank you for subscribing as well. Over on D-Live, I appreciate each and every one of you. I really do. Thank you. Texas Rob 49, thanks for your massive support. P-Break, just saying hi. Scooby-Doo Right, Maui Racing Realtor, Truth Twins, everybody over there. I really do appreciate all of you. Everybody that did a single lemon to Ninja Genie, it doesn't matter, whatever it was. Thank you for supporting Recalcitrant, Bear Claws. All you guys are amazing. Dazuzi, thank you, and all you guys do. Blessings and stay safe. It is now officially time for the shoutro. It's not an outro, it's a shout out. It's a shoutro. It's where I say thank you to the people that matter most. You guys are the credits. Dex, thank you so much for everything you do.
Great show. Much love, brother.
They said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Ooh. Was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. I said it does in a CDRCC. I bring it down, everybody will to see me. Remedy 59 in the seeking truth, and now watch it to my land is on the side, and everybody hot now. Everybody wanna bring it on the pot. Drink it down and now the restream. I got it out with the Maui Racing. Enjoy each day with the high leash. Sky House in the holiday keys. I Susie Q and the I Nicole save your session. Sheep out. Bill Whitey on the vibe, no bag, don't bring it. I give no Craig and Greg go sing it. A Jaybird 2 in the gold packs. Human, I break, I down, mama. Crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. I think it down, now they bring me down in the eyes with the jeans on the road bike. Everybody seeing roars in the city, hockey, and they let a bike go by. See the place, everybody and home X on the right, is it answer? Bring it down, massa. Oh, yes, oh, massa. Crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Speed on the shot, yo, no bring back down back. Oh, now be down, and a bring down. Oh, now baby, don't bring it down. Now remedy 5-9, my 100. 27 gone, gone, 7 now. Hey, now bring it down. Watch out, 2 ghosts, baby, got veterans. Leave on the downstairs, mama in the big down. See now, my aunt Joe in the big down. See no, how crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Whizzing on the edge and I'm being gone. Joseph Sanders bringing on the road and spirits 27, 5, 17 now. A J5 42, not your grandpa gonna do a scene hockey. Everybody gonna love it on down. Deep state of mind and you gotta go crown. Negotiator in the bike or silver. My news have real stuff, Sheila. On the Amos, on the Benos. Wanna bring it back, no, kill it like Thanos. We'll send H and the Bob guys and the crazy cool flies getting it on. Adam on the man, final on the Paris. Going back down and they're heading to the Paris. France won't protect you from this. The French Revolution gonna be carried by heart. Gonna be. Oh, now that it come true, now they hear me out. Crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Crazy on the dog when it got now to the fire. Hey, on there, everybody gonna see me out. Hey, now beg on the bar, see you white now. I'm on the James on the Corte. Bring it on back on Mario Lopez. Hey, now gonna bring it down on the J-Roll. Roar back, going back, see hookers down now. Hey, my family gonna be the hot. Oh, that music in that tempo. Hey, on the hill now. Hey, 5,000 on the shed, load of rupee. Gotta go back with the lady. Hey, round on the back, talk, tag it and slope now. Hey, Sheeta on the Is It 2020. Didn't realize on the beat, dog, want it out. Also, Lord and Drew and the old funny. Donna, also, Donna, honey, oh, nah. With the bot down, bring it on the salt, nah. With the salt, take a 22. Rose Jane, with the Lisa, is the Lisa. Gonna bring it down now to the massa. Gonna bring it down now to see a deal win sky, white skin home. Bring it down now, they are wise men. Gonna bring with the Charlie C4, CJ Blaze and the shorty hit the floor. Drew Seeker 57, everybody more. Fino Barros and the Vango 54. Hey, oh, said hey, oh. Bob Dobbs with those vibes in the shack. Need to bring it back down and you go back down. Ooh, 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 ooh. Jail, won't buy, don't bring it. Crazy was the talk that they said I was talking about. Now that it come true, now they hear me out. Scabby on the leash, y'all, the hair cold guidance. Mama boy, come back, hey, they hockey. Who goes that, Janice, up, Copiano. Hey, bring it down now, Missy, Omniano. Tick down, I'm gonna bring it, Mr. Dyson. Bad with the no negotiating. Pizza,